video, we'll be going through exercise 10a, which is quadratic equations. So the intention is to understand how to solve quadratic trinomials. You can identify quadratics in standard form. You can test for a solution, and you can use null factor law to solve the equation. So the first thing we'll go through is quadratic equations. So the standard form means what it usually looks like. So a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So a, b, c are numbers. So for example, you can have 2x squared plus 10x plus 12 is equal to 0. So that's an example of a quadratic equation. We usually want it to look like this. So we want it to have an x squared here, an x, and then a number. That will be our standard form that we're looking for. Later on, we'll factorize the quadratic to solve for the answer. Alright, so the question for the example is that we want to write quadratic equations in standard form. So we want to have it like this. 0 on one side, and then you have your x squared coming first, x, and then your number. So here, in the first one, we have x squared already. So we just want to move this one to the other side, and this one to the other side. For moving things to the other side, just do the opposite. No sign in front means plus. So instead of plus 3, you have a minus 3 on this side. Don't forget the x. And then instead of a plus 5, you have a minus 5. Once you moved everything, what's left over is 0 on that side. Second example, you want to expand the bracket first. So you have this 2 in front and the brackets. Usually you see there's no brackets here. So what we want to expand it. So 2 times 2x squared, and then 2 times 4. So 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times 4x, you get 8x equals to 7. So now we're almost at standard form. All we need to do is move your 7 over to the other side. There's no sign in front, so it's a plus. 2x squared plus 8x. You have a plus 7, the opposite of plus 7, you get a negative 7. Once you have a negative 7 there, the right hand side becomes 0. And then that's going to be your standard form. Okay, last example. We have our x here and our number here, but our x squared is on the other side. So we can just move our x squared to this side, and we'll get our quadratic equation in standard form. So this is a minus 2x squared. Opposite of minus is a plus. So all you have to do is plus. Put 2x squared in front. No sign in front of the 3x means it's a plus. So you put plus 3x minus 4. Because we move the x squared, this side ends up as 0. And then all of these are in standard form now. Okay, second part is to test for solutions. So to test for solutions, they'll give you a value of x. So x is equal to something. 1, x equals to 4, x equals to 7, or whatever. It will be a number. You will put this number into the equation. If the solution on the left-hand side is the same as the right-hand side, then it is a solution. So it's correct. So for example, in the first one, your x is equal to 1. You tell by here. They tell you x is 1, so change your x to 1. Everything else stays the same. So the only thing you're changing is the letter x. So 1 squared is 1 plus 1 minus 3 equals to 0. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 minus 3 is minus 1. Left-hand side does not equal to right-hand side. So x equals to 1 is not a solution. So x equals to 1 is not an answer. Okay, second example, same thing. The only difference is they tell us x is equal to -3. So you get 3, -3 squared plus 4 times -3 minus 15 should equal to 0. So -3 squared is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times -3 is minus 12 minus 15. 27 minus 12 minus 15 is minus 27. 0. 0 is equal to 0. So x equals to minus 3 is a solution. It's because the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So if they give the same number on both sides, whatever the question x is equal to will be a solution. Okay, last thing for this exercise is the null factor law. So the null factor law is used to find a solution to a quadratic equation. If you multiply two numbers, it's 0. So 9 times 0 will make 0. One of them will definitely have to be 0. Or 0 times 9 is equal to 0. We don't know what they are, but one of them will be 0 to make it equal to 0. Because if you times something by 0, you get 0. Alright, the factorized form of an expression will look like this. So you have x plus a number, x minus a number, and then it's equal to 0. What null factor law means is, this is a times b. One of them will have to be 0, but we don't know which one. So if your x plus 1 is going to be 0, or your first part, what value does x have to be to make it 0? So there's a plus 1 here, move it to the other side, you make it a -1. So x is equal to -1. What we do is move this one over. Or x minus 3 ends up as 0. Same thing, you just move the minus 3 over to the other side. That means instead of being a minus 3, it's a plus 3. X equals to 3. So your solutions are x equals to -1 or x is equal to 3. Alright, we'll go through a couple examples. So this would be your a times this whole thing would be your b. One of them will be 0. So x can be equal to 0 or x plus 5 is equal to 0. And then we just move the plus 5 over to the other side. So then it becomes x equals to -5. So your answer for part A is x equals 0 or x equals to -5. Okay. Second one, you have two of them. So you can have x plus 2 making 0 or x minus 3 making 0. So then you just move it to the other side. Instead of a plus 2, you have a minus 2. Instead of a minus 3, you have a plus 3. Okay. C will be the hardest one you'll get. Same thing, you'll have these two factors, and then one of them will be equal to 0. So 3x minus 2 will equal to 0, or 2x plus 5 will be equal to 0. Move the 2 over to the other side, so it's 3x equals to 2. Last step is to divide by 3, because we want to get rid of the 3 in front of x. And x is equal to 2 divided by 3. You can leave it in fractions. Okay, the second one, 2x plus 5 becomes 0. So you move the plus 5 to the other side, 2x equals to minus 5. Last step, divide both by 2. x is equal to minus 5 over 2. And then that is how you solve using the null factor law.